Good morning. I'm Catherine Haddad. This is Fecta, Germany. I'm in my own riding stable here. And I'm going to talk this morning about a new saddle design that I did together with Stübben saddles. Last year in October, I met Mr. Frank Stübben at a horse show in Lyon, France. And we started speaking about my old Schultheiss saddle. This is in fact the one that I showed him at the horse show. And I think that Mr. Stübben was very happy to hear that I have been riding in this very same saddle for 25 years. But if you take a closer look at it, even though it's a great advertisement for the longevity of Stübben saddles, it really doesn't look like something you'd want to sell on today's market. So Mr. Stübben and I talked, and I told him that I had already tried the new Stübben Extras. This, by the way, is a Stübben Extra. And that I was not pleased, that I didn't feel I had the same balance in the seat, and the flaps didn't break in the same way, and I didn't like the fit as much on my horses. He offered to take the serial number from this old Stübben saddle, check out the specifications on it, and see if he could build me a newer, more contemporary, better saddle than what I'd had before. Now, I was extremely skeptical, but I did agree that if he would send me a couple models, I would try them, and we would try over a period of time to develop a saddle that was really to my taste. And we actually did that. I got the first test model at the beginning of this year in January. We talked about the model, we changed a couple small things, and these two saddles that you see here are now the product that I say is top of the line. This is for me the best saddle I have ever ridden in. And if all of you that know me personally will not believe that I'm actually making this video for the blog, because you're going to say, oh no, Catherine would never switch saddles, which is what I believed my whole life until this model came along. Now this model is unfortunately named the Stübben Genesis Special. And I say unfortunately because I don't think it has very much to do with the Genesis, the normal Genesis that's on the market today. This saddle is really designed more on a basis of the Tristan. And I say that because this seat and the specifications on this seat, which every Stübben saddle has a serial number, so you can look up the specifications on how it's been made. The depth of this seat, the curvature to this seat, the width of the tree, the size of the seat, this has all been transferred from my old Stübben Schultheiss, which was made, by the way, I have one that was made 25 years ago. This particular model was made 15 years ago. Those seat specifications have been transferred over to this saddle. Now, the thing that comes from Genesis is the flap, and you can notice that this flap is slightly cut back compared to the straighter flap of the Tristan. So it has Genesis Special stamped on the side. I think that the panels, the shape of the panels, and the shape of the seat have much more to do with Tristan. So you can see that this saddle comes in black or brown. Personally, I prefer the brown. I'm very much a brown person. But of course, you have some horses who are going to want to have their black color on them. You'll notice on this saddle I have two tones. I have dark brown and I have the light nut color on the panels. Now, probably Mr. Stübben will scoff at this when he hears it, but I actually prefer this nut-colored leather on all of my Stübben saddles. And I say that after years of experience, after riding in these old Tristans for many, many years. I can tell you that this nut-colored leather, and I can't tell you why, it feels slightly different from the panel on the black saddle. It feels slightly different from the colored leathers. The colored leathers are just a little bit softer, and they tend to break in and flatten a little bit more than this nut-colored leather. So in the future, I will be ordering all of my specially made saddles with this nut-colored leather on the panel. Now, so these two saddles are already broken in, or at least slightly broken in. I've ridden a lot in this saddle. I've actually shown in it. The first time in my career I have shown in a saddle different than the Stübben Tristan Extra. I showed in this saddle at Falsterbo last weekend. This saddle has only been ridden in a few times. That becomes important later, and I'll tell you why. Now, when your Stübben Genesis Special arrives from the factory, it comes with a beautiful saddle cover like this, and it's going to look brand new like this saddle does. And this is a third color that you can order. This is called Havana, just for a bit of information. The original Schultheiss saddle was made in this Havana leather originally in the late 1800s. I think up until just World War II they switched colors. So this was the original color of the Stübben Tristan Extra. Now, if you notice, you probably have to zoom in to show this. There are two different types of leather on these Genesis specials if you were to order them Stübben by my specifications. Here on the flap, there's a bit of softer leather. I can't remember the name of it. This is full grain leather, and this is I think called the deluxe leather from Stübben. It doesn't matter what the name is. This full grain leather is the toughest sucker you can buy, okay? And for me, frankly, I don't need this deluxe leather anywhere on the saddle. The deluxe leather is soft. It feels really nice when you first touch it. It feels really nice when you first sit in it. Breaks in very quickly. But because it's softer, it will also wear out more quickly, which is why I asked for the used parts of the saddle, the heavily used parts of the saddle, like this particular flap and that flap to be made from full grain so that they don't wear out. Now, we'll just start at the top and let me show you the biggest revolution in this saddle and why I would say it is the best product on the market in the moment. And that has to do with this Biomex seat, okay? Biomex is a company in Switzerland who develops seats for bicycle riders and some other sports. I don't remember all the details, but it is a scientific company, an ergonomic company that designs specifically sitting places for human beings so that our spines are relieved from undue pressure, which is exactly what this seat does for you. And when I first saw it at Lyon in 2009, I looked at Mr. Stübben like he was high. I should probably say something else. I looked at Mr. Stübben like he was crazy. Okay, but I did sit in it there and I thought, okay, well, I'll try it if he makes me. He sent me this Biomex seat and I have never looked back. When you sit on this seat, your seat bones are right here on the side. I hope you can see there's like a ridge here. Your seat bones do not hit this ridge. They sit on the sides, but your seat bones are positioned here. What happens then is this channel in the middle is where your tailbone goes, and that means that you've got a lot less pressure on your tailbone than you do on your seat bones. And even if you know anything about Schulteis riding, we ride really from the seat. And even just changing minutely the position of the pelvis on the horse, we want our horse to respond. Unfortunately, when you drop your pelvis down in the saddle, that's when your tailbone is going to come into contact with the saddle. And for some riders, this is not only an uncomfortable feeling, but it creates some extra pressure on the spinal cord. This Biomex seat relieves that. So if you're a rider who has back problems, this is for you. And if you're a rider who doesn't have back problems but who wants to remain healthy for the rest of your life, this seat is for you. Okay, this is called Biomex, and that is included on the saddle if you were to order it to my specifications. We put a very simple flap here on the saddle so that there's only this piece of stitching, which is basically just for decoration. Nothing can wear out here. This is, I believe, I know that this saddle is the closest contact dressage saddle on the market. And everything is designed to put you in close contact with your horse's back, okay? There's not very much here between the rider's thigh and the horse. You've got, again, the same leather on the flap. And let me show you, I'm going to turn this around and show you from the front. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, there are no knee rolls on this saddle, okay? What you have here is a little bit of extra padding inside this panel. It's not a panel, it's a flap. Inside this flap. And this little bit of extra padding, when I sit on the horse, is right at the front of my thigh. And it just gives me a nice little soft, secure feeling in comparison to the old Stübben Schulteis. You can see there is nothing here, okay? This is just a stripped down strap of leather that you put on your horse. So this gives you just a little bit of extra, and that's really the only major change in feeling in the flap. But when I first sat in this saddle, I thought, oh no, oh no. Then I rode in it for 2 or 3 days, and I thought, oh yes,